Line leaders and friends, please do join us in a few minutes for the closing session of this wonderful forum. Now we shall hear from the Chief of Technology of Lions Clubs International, Dr. BalaChander. This would be followed by a presentation from the Legal Division, our General Counsel, David Kingsbury.
Hello. I want to thank the organizers of the ISAMI Forum for providing me an opportunity to talk about digital products. Today, I will briefly talk about the digital ecosystem, give you an overview, as well as talk about features and applications we have released in the last 6 months or so, and give you a sense of the things that we are going to be working on for the next, I would say, 6 to 12 months, and provide an update on that as well. One of the things I do want to emphasize is that we are constantly improving our products, so encourage all of you to log in and see what's new out there. With that, let me start and give you a sense of our digital ecosystem. Some of you may have seen this slide, or at least a version of the slide. What you essentially have here is a representation of the entire suite of digital applications that Lines can access. So at the top you see Line account. Basically, it's your one account that lets you access all the products. The access to all the products would obviously depend on the role you have and the permissions you may have to do certain activities. And then as you log into the Line account, what we now have is a new sort of landing page, if you will, and we call it the member portal. And the idea here is to give visibility into things that are important to you when you log in. And then, of course, you have all the applications, the familiar ones. Number of you may have used it already: MyLine, MyLCI, Insights, and Shop. And then one or two new ones, at least released in the last few months. One is Connect. We are very excited to release this. It's currently in beta, so not everybody has access to it, and I'll talk a little bit about each one of these applications as we move forward. So, as I mentioned earlier, I do want to provide an update on some of the things we have done in the last 6 months or so. And the first one I want to talk a little bit about is the member portal. And those of you who are familiar with things like Facebook and other applications, it is similar to some of the news feeds that you may have seen. So what we have tried to do here is to better leverage the landing page. So as soon as you log in, what you see at the top is the suite of applications that you can access. And then on the left-hand side is the news feed, which is very similar to the Facebook feed that I mentioned earlier. Essentially, we have the ability now for you to follow either clubs or certain individuals or service activities, and as soon as they post something, you will automatically see that on your side, and vice versa, in the sense that if you are being followed by, let's say, 10 other individuals and you posted something, it'll automatically show up in their feed. That's what you see on the left-hand side. And below the main application bar, what we've done is have a placeholder for announcements. And clearly there's nothing at this point in time, but over time, we are going to use this for announcements and notification. And then you have a very quick view of your service metrics information, as well as any event that you may have coming up. So the idea here is to give you at one quick snapshot of what are the things that are important to you. This was released about 3 months ago, so those of you who may have logged in the last few months would have seen it. And please let us know. And that's true for every application that I'm going to be talking about. Would love to hear from you on what is working, what is not. And as I mentioned, we'd like to constantly hear the feedback and then improve the products as we move forward. Moving on to My Lion, we've done some enhancements to the system in the last few months. The main one being the ability now to report donations, both on fundraising as well as donations that you may have done in the currency that you're raising. Because one of the things we realized is that when we did the consolidation and people, even though we had said please convert into US dollars, obviously that's something sometimes people may forget. And so what would happen is that we would actually overstate our funds donated and funds raised metrics across the organization. So we decided to just make sure that multiple currency or local currencies are supported. So now you can actually report on the particular currency that you're either raising or donating money in. So with that, we also gave you the ability to now export data. This has been an often requested feature. People want to export that into Excel to do whatever, or maybe perhaps publish it somewhere else. And so now you have an easy way to export the data, service activity data. Connect is our new application. It's, like I mentioned before, is in beta. The idea here is the ability for you to connect virtually. You can set up meetings, you can make, you can send text messages to different groups. And this has become more significant because of the conditions in the world we live in right now with COVID-19, where in-person meetings are almost impossible, or if not very difficult to have. And so one of the things we did sometime in April, we recognized that clubs and offices and district offices were looking at solutions, whether it was Zoom or whether it was Google Meet or whatever the case may be. And sometimes they would ask whether LCI could bear the costs associated with it. So what we thought was, why not use existing open source solutions out there? Open source essentially is free software that's available, and then integrate that and extend that for our lines. So that's essentially what we have done. We now have the ability for people, especially offices, to schedule meetings, and we have an ability to predefine groups. So you can, if you are a district governor and you want to schedule a meeting with your district cabinet, you can actually create a group and say, okay, and there are some pre-existing groups as well. You can either create a group or select one of the pre-existing groups, and you can just schedule a meeting. And an email would get sent to everybody who was going to be the participants, and then they can actually sign in and log in just like you would do in other products, other virtual meeting products like Zoom. The caveat here is that this is not meant for large meetings. Because we use a tool, the tool has some restrictions. We typically encourage those who want to have about 25 to 50 or so participants can use this tool. But if you want to address 500 or 1,000 people, then you really have to look at a professional meeting software. So we are excited about this. Like I said before, it's not available for everybody. Right now it's in beta. What we wanted to do was roll it out to a select set of individuals, get the feedback, improve the product, and so on. We have it's been in beta for about 3 months. We have expanded the number of participants now. It's available for all district governors, and those of you who are club presidents or officers who want to specifically try this out, please send me an email or send an email to productfeedback@lionsclubs.org, and we'll take care of it and add you to the beta program. Insights is a product we've had for almost now a year and a half, but what we have done is we have changed the look and feel of the product, and have made it more user friendly. There were certain things in the old insights where it was kind of difficult to search for a particular district, and sometimes, when you are in a particular district, the overall summary in some areas wouldn't change, so it was a little confusing. So we've sort of fixed all that. At the left, you will see a global summary of pertinent to overall for entire association, and then you can now look at specific membership or clubs or whatever it is, and then you can go to each of those tabs at the top and drill a little further. If you're interested in membership, you would go to the membership tab and so on. We also have a separate dashboard for campaign 100 in terms of funds raised and the model clubs and so on. And what we have also done is added a new feature in the Insights product, where now you now have visibility on districts goals tracking. So this is essentially the district governors who may have set the goals at the beginning of the year, and they can track on how they're doing, and not just how they're doing, they can also look at, and everyone can look at how the overall association is doing in terms of the goals. The goals could be growth in terms of new clubs and new members. It could be around reduction of drop members and so on. And that's the whole idea behind this goal tracking feature. And then, of course, we have done quite a bit of work in lionsclubs.org. Hopefully, some of you have seen that the search has improved and the results are much better now. And that was one of the areas of focus in the last few months. But also, I think what we have realized, there is a form for contacting, for those who are interested in becoming a Lion or whatever the case may be, or prospect, that is a form to contact Lions that comes to a particular district. And one of the things we had noticed, and it's unfortunately has increased during the COVID-19 period, is that some of the people were abusing these forms and misusing them, and would send spam or would send solicitation emails and so on. And they would do this programmatically as well. So, a particular club may have gotten inundated with a lot of these mails. So one of the things we've done is now have this notion of what we call CAPTCHA. And so a program cannot automatically send these messages, so we've stopped that. So, we do take security and quite seriously, so we are looking at ways to constantly improve that, and this is one of the things that we did in the last few months. And then for Foundation, we have done a couple of things. We now have specific pages that if you have a particular campaign, for example, we have a corporate social responsibility partnership with Johnson & Johnson, and have a program for Site for Kids. And so now what we can do is come up with pages that are specific to these types of campaigns. The cause would be already selected, and so if you make a donation, it would go to the right place, the back end. And so we now have the ability to do so. We also have created localized Foundation websites experience. India is one of them. We did create LCIF India website, and hopefully all of you have experienced that and like what you see in the new website. And like I said before, please send us feedback. We're happy to hear from you. We did have release a new e-commerce storefront. We branded a shop now. This was released in May, and our previous storefront was not mobile friendly. Now you can actually do the browse for products using either a tablet or a phone or whatever the case may be, and place orders. And one of the things we are looking at is storefronts for perhaps a couple of regions where we believe that there is good opportunity for e-commerce growth. And so one of them is the Isami region, and perhaps I have a storefront in India catering to the Isami region. We are discussing sort of the legalities of establishing that, and we hope to make progress in this in the next 6 to 9 months or so. And of course, we did release a product, Learn. This is the ability for you to not only go and take online courses, but also have the ability to report training that you may have done, local trainings or institutional trainings and so on. So we are adding more features to this application, but now we have the ability to do so for you to go report local training. And the idea here is that it becomes a one-stop shop for all the learning data, and then we can start providing analytics around learning. Just like we have membership and service activity and insights, over time, as we have more data, we will have a learn component to insights where you can actually go in and see, how many people have taken different types of courses and so on in your club or district or whatever the region that might be. So with that, I want to give you a brief overview of some of the things we are working on and what you may see in, I would say, in the next 6 to 12 to perhaps 15 months or so. Things that we are working on in terms of areas. So the first one is self-service. We now have the ability, you can go in, and if you have a line account, and go update your information, right? I mean, who best knows the information? It's you. Rather than you giving and say, hey, my address has changed, or my name is incorrect, or whatever the case is, rather than telling it to the club officer, you can automatically go do this, provided you have a line account. And so what we are trying to do is, right now, the number of things you can change are somewhat restricted. So we want to open that up and have the ability for you to go in and keep your information in our systems current. And then sort of moving to the right, we do recognize that our registration and logging in is still not as good as it can be. So some of the things we are working on is improvements to those, on how you can go create a line account and then how you log in and so on. One of the things we have noticed that is, when people register for convention, oftentimes they have to provide the information that is already in our lines systems. So I personally, when I go do it, I get sometimes frustrated saying, hey, you already know who I am, why do I need to provide all this information? So unfortunately, the convention system is a different system, so we are looking at ways to integrate it so that it becomes a more seamless experience for you. We recognize from a usability perspective that we are still not consistent across the entire suite of applications, so we want to make that more consistent and improve the navigation as well. So that's an ongoing exercise, and we're going to work on that.